What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly sports history for January 4th, 2025. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Saturday edition of the podcast. A cold, soon-to-be snowy, well, I guess snow's coming tomorrow, but thank you for joining us here on a Saturday. Let's do some quick housekeeping before we get into today's episode. Be sure to follow me on social media, Jimbo_Mont on Twitter and TikTok. On Instagram, at PhillyJimbo. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Jimbo_Mont, and continue to spread the word as we look to continue to grow in 2025. We were featured in On Pattison newsletter yesterday, so go give them a check out. It emailed right to your inbox. We're in there a couple times a week, so go check it out, the On Pattison newsletter. All right. Sixers in action tonight in Brooklyn. Last game of this road trip. Joe is listed as questionable. I feel the rest of the season he's going to be questionable every game. No reason that I can see that he shouldn't play tonight. So we'll see if they can get back into the win column against the Nets. Kelly Oubre was listed as doubtful. He's dealing with some things right now. And that's a shame because he's been so steady for them over the past couple of years. But Sixers Nets tonight in Brooklyn. Flyers off, and they finish up their road trip tomorrow in Toronto. Thank God the West Coast games are over. Be sure to check out my boys at the Clashing Conferences podcast, doing great things with their Sports Fan Network. New NFC East pod is out, doing great things with a group of guys for college. So go check them out wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. And then go to Philly Goat. It's cold. It's going to snow. Why not do some shopping? Go check it out. Get some of the bird wings. Hopefully maybe get them in time for the playoff game. They have plenty of shirts. You name it, they got it. So go to Philly Goat. Check them out. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off of your order. All right, for the new year, I've been saying this. We've been doing it. I've been feeling better about it. Instead of New Year's resolutions, we are forgiving figures in Philly sports history, trying to bring some of that good karma to our teams in 2025. It's going to be a big year for our teams one way or the other, so let's try to make it as positive as possible. And today, we are forgiving Mike Mamula. Yes, Mike Mamula was the seventh pick in the first round of the 1995 NFL Draft, and probably best known for playing the system. He went into the draft focusing strictly on the combine skills in a time where analytics really were in its infant stages, but he crushed the draft combine, focusing specifically on those exercises, and greatly improved his draft stock. Had a decent career at Boston College. I believe he's in the Boston College Sports Hall of Fame. But he did enough in the combine to convince the Eagles to trade up from number 12 with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to get that seventh pick to take Mamula. Adding insult to injury, though, the Bucs took, with that 12th pick, Warren Sapp, who was falling down the board due to some failed drug tests near the end of his career there in Miami, and then parlayed the two picks that the Eagles traded them to get up to number 7 to get back into the first round and draft Derek Brooks. So that really was strike one against Mamula. But I'm here to tell you, it's not his fault. It is not Mike Mamula's fault. He is who he is, like we said with Joe, like we said with some of these other guys. He is who he is. It's not his fault the front office overvalued him. And obviously coming in as the 7th pick, you expect it to be a difference maker on the defense. Mike Mamula was not a difference maker. However, I'm here to tell you, he had a solid career. Played 5 years, missed one full season with injury, but in 5 years had 31 and a half career sacks. Not too bad. Injuries cut his career short, and unfortunately for him, he was really associated with those Ray Rhodes teams. And unfortunately, they were a second-tier team the entire time Ray Rhodes was here. Yes, they were a playoff team, but they were a second-tier team. Maybe some of that had to do with them overvaluing Mamula. I don't know, but I forgive you, Mike Mamula. It is not your fault the Eagles took you at 7. It is not your fault you figured out a glitch in the matrix and were able to play the system and improve your draft stock, get some of that money, and the Eagles passed up on trading for or passed up on drafting Warren Sapp, and also passed up on Derek Brooks, who, ironically enough, those two guys would come back to haunt the Eagles in 2002. So, Mike Mamula, I forgive you. It's not your fault. You did nothing wrong here. You just are who you are. You scored a 29 out of 30 on the Wonderlic test, and this shows that you were smart. You figured out, I do well in these combine exercises, I'm going to get drafted high. I'm going to get paid. So if you want to be mad at anybody, be mad at the front office, but don't be mad. Don't hate the player. Hate the game. Mike Mamula, I forgive you. That weight has finally been lifted off my shoulders. I've been holding on to that for a while. Hopefully that will bring us good karma. But Mike Mamula, we forgive you. Sticking with the Eagles, it does look like Tanner McKee will get the start tomorrow, trying to impress, get some things on tape to possibly be the Eagles' backup next year. I doubt Kenny Pickett will be back one way or the other. Nick Sirianni spoke to the media. Jalen is progressing through the concussion protocol, still in it. However, I did hear a lot of different folks speak about this, saying that the Eagles are probably being very cautious with that because, God forbid, if I saw I forget what site it was, but one of the NFL doctors or sports doctors that follows the NFL basically said that if he would get another concussion in like a freak accident or something at practice, he's likely out a month. So they're being very smart. He's probably okay now. They're just playing the long game. Let's hope that that's the case. But a lot of people who cover the Eagles say if he's not playing by or practicing by Wednesday, that's when we should be concerned. So stress-free football this weekend. We will take it. Let's recap yesterday's question of the day, though. For this game, I asked you yesterday, will you be watching it or will you try to get some other things done since it is basically a glorified preseason game? 73% of you said you will be watching it. Probably as cold as it is and with the snow in the forecast, probably not a bad idea. Thank you as always for participating in the question of the day. We'll have another one here in a couple minutes. But the other big story yesterday, there was a report not a report, but a tweet, I think, or something sent out by Jeremy Fowler for ESPN that essentially said he's hearing around the league that there is a possibility that if the Eagles do lose in the first round, Nick Sirianni's job could be in jeopardy. I don't know. I feel like, is this backlash because of the Saquon not going for the record? Is this just because it's been a relatively drama-free couple of weeks here, trying to stir the pot? I find it hard to believe with the job that Nick Sirianni has done this year, if they do lose in the first round, Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman would make a change. I mean, I guess anything is possible. But, I mean, we saw it with Buddy Ryan, 3 straight first-round exits. He gets fired. But Norman Brayman was a different type of owner. So we'll see what happens. I don't know if I buy this because I get it's winning a Super Bowl, and it would be disappointing. I don't know if it's enough for him to lose his job. But that is today's question of the day. If the Eagles don't make it out of the first round of the playoffs, will Nick Sirianni keep his job, or should he? Is probably the better question. 267-495-8531. That'll get you in on the Back to the Future voice and text line. Get that. Anything else Philly sports related off your chest. Want to talk about Mike Mamula? It's all fair game. I guess the cool part about this Giants game is the Eagles can either win their 13th game, or I guess 14th game of the year, or they could tank or help the Giants tank a high draft pick, which would even be funnier. Maybe that's the end goal here. Maybe they're playing the long game with the Giants and letting them win to tank their draft pick, but we'll see. Still a lot of people talking about Saquon not playing and this, that, and the other. I still don't get it. I mean, yes, it would have been cool for the record, but at the end of the day, the Super Bowl is the only thing that matters. And so many people saying, oh, well, it would have been cool to have the record. No, stop it. It would have been cool. However, the Super Bowl is the priority. So we'll have more on the Eagles tomorrow, including the 3 keys to victory. Probably an abbreviated version of that due to backups, but we will have the 3 keys to the game as we gear up for the Eagles-Giants preseason matchup in Week 18 of the NFL. Today, we're going to go back to 2012. And on this day in 2012, my Temple Owls beat the number 5 Duke Blue Devils 78-73 at the Wells Fargo Center. The only time in school history that they beat Duke. And I remember this game well because it was so satisfying to finally beat Duke. I put it up there with when the football team finally beat Penn State. It's just one of those games, like they always seem to get blown out by Duke too. So to have them beat Duke was very gratifying for me. Khalif Wyatt had 22 points. Relier Jefferson had 17. Duke was led by Mason Plumlee. And also, little side note, starting for Duke that day at the Wells Fargo Center, future Sixer Seth Curry, who had 6 points. This was the 4th straight year that Temple beat a top 10 team. This was very early in Dunphy's career. He led the Owls to a 24-8 record, the A-10 regular season title. Big 5 co-champions. They got all the way into the NCAA tournament as a 5 seed. Was feeling very good until they lost to South Florida in one of the ugliest tournament games I've ever seen in my life. I remember being at, I believe it was PJ Willihan's in Bluebell, and it just was an ugly, ugly game. But for one day, though, Temple was on top of the world. On this day in 2012, they beat the number 5 ranked Duke Blue Devils 78-73 at the Wells Fargo Center. For the 4th straight year, they had beaten a top 10 team. And for me, it was just getting the monkey off my back. And I was glad that it happened with Coach K as the coach. Unfortunately, when Temple beat Penn State, Joe Pa wasn't the coach. I believe it was Bill O'Brien, or it might have been the first year of James Franklin. But either way, Temple beat Duke on this day in 2012. We'll have more on the Eagles, including the 3 keys to victory tomorrow, as Tanner McKee and the backups lead the Eagles into battle. We are forgiving Mike Mamula today. It's not his fault. He figured out how to beat the system, and the Eagles bought it. If anything, be upset with the front office, but you cannot be mad at Mike Mamula for this. Mike, I forgive you. Be sure to let me know your thoughts on whether Nick Sirianni can survive a first-round exit. And again, I can't even believe we're talking about that, but maybe there's something to it. But let me know, 267-495-8531. That'll get you in. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History for January 4th, 2025. I'm Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a Saturday. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.